good morning. This is Summer with Summer's Tips and Stitches / Flynn's bone marrow transplant journey. This video might be a little choppy in the morning because I'm waiting for the nurses to start their shift, so I might have to stop. It's 8 a.m. and it is Tuesday the 12th. So the last video I posted was talking about the few days where Flynn was suffering some kidney damage due to methotrexate buildup in his leg, and they'd finally gotten that under control. And yeah, we were just on the upturn of a rough 5 days, if you will. Now, let's see here. I'm trying to think what day that video was put out. I don't want to say like Saturday, whatever. But since then, yeah, it had to have been like Friday. Well, maybe Thursday, because Friday, I don't know the date. If today's the 8th. Is today the 8th? No, today's the 12th. I don't know, you guys. Just if today is Tuesday, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, the 8th, a friend of mine from school that I work with had an appointment at the Freighter Hospital. It was actually right out my window. Like, the hospitals are next to each other, kind of like in a weird circle, and I can see it. In fact, the helicopter pad is on the roof of Freighter. And so she popped into the lobby and gave me a hug, and we chatted, and it was good to see her. And then the next day, a bunch of teachers from school came and visited me as well, and then they brought treats for Flynn. You can't really see, but over here, a couple of the teachers had sent me some Christmas decorations, so I have like, maybe after the video, after I do talking, I'll show you that, okay? In fact, in general, I'll give you an update on Flynn, talk about the day today, and then if you're waiting for some yarn chat, that of course will be at the end. That's how that goes. Okay, so they came and visited, and it was really nice. That day was pretty exciting, besides the fact that I got to hang out with my teacher besties. We went out to lunch. I got Flynn a cheeseburger. It was just really good to catch up with what's going on with all of our friends and stuff. Then when I got back up to visit Flynn, I think I got to visit with them for a couple hours. When I got back up to be with Flynn, they had this donation. I don't remember what they called it, but anyway, what they said basically is that Flynn and I would go to this other room, which is still on the same floor. But it was the furthest Flynn has gone in a while. And he would get a big bag, and he could choose as many presents as he wanted. I'm going to insert 2 video clips of Flynn and that room, and Flynn in that room. This is all the stuff people donated. Look at all of this. Look at that. Flynn gets to use whatever he wants. What is that?
It's not girly. It's not girly at all.
No. You want
a blanket?
I don't know. What about the moose? Do you like the flamingo better than the moose? I'm just saying.
Oh wait, hold on. This is
a ballerina.
Yeah. Let's get the big moose, the mama moose, and the baby moose.
So, I did get a little teary because I just thought of like, I don't know. I could see how excited Flynn was at like choosing presents and stuff. Now, the cool thing is I could also choose things to give to my other children. It's just in my circumstance, My other two children are 14 and 15, and everything in that room was geared to children 10 and under. So Flynn shows a bunch of stuff. In fact, I think I inserted the 2 clips of being in that room and then a picture of all the things that Flynn shows. In fact, Brandon is coming today, Tuesday, because remember that was out on Saturday, and we're going to bring the 2 bags, which you can see one right there, and then, no, you can't see the other one. It's too low on the floor there. I'm going to bring those home, wrap a few, and then just put some away because I'm hoping that we can break out of this joint soon. Now, let's talk about Flynn's health, because this weekend was when we had, and I'm logging into the iPad so I can tell you the right things, because I am not a medical professional. I'm a teacher, a crafter. Okay, so that Saturday morning, they had announced at the morning round that Flynn had started engraftment. So Flynn had started having Maddie's cells lock in there and start growing. And so the 2 things that they look at when knowing that he has started engraftment is his white blood cells, which have progressively gone up. Since Saturday, they've gone from 0.3 to 0.8. I mean, they're still low, but they're growing on their own. He hasn't had a transfusion. Okay, so the nurse has come in. She's done her vitals. She has given him his pills. He's doing his puff. She's weighed him and started him, I think, on an IV med. So the things that we're looking at in order to know if he is engrafting, and that's the word that they use to describe Maddie's cells settling in where they're supposed to and him making them, are his neutrophils, his white blood count, his platelets, and his red blood count. Now his neutrophils have been going up quite steadily. Saturday they were at like their initial 0.1 something, and on that day Dr. Broglie had said something like, she said they want them at 500. And I was like, 0.1 is pretty far from 500. But they're pretending like the decimal point doesn't exist. And so instead of saying 0.345, they're saying 340. Now, good news is his neutrophil levels are 0.452, which is pretty darn close to 500. And they had been steadily increasing. At first, it was just a couple, it was 130 to 170, and now a couple days out here, 4 days later, it's up to 0.452. So that is good. His white blood cells are at 0.8, and those are steadily increasing by 1 or 2, and those are things that are made in your own blood. His platelets are going down still, and they have given him, I think, up to 4 transfusions. But I will say the decrease from day to day is much smaller. They were going down by 16 to 20 a day, and now it only went down 1 to 3 in the last couple of days. So they're decreasing, but at a much slower rate. And his red blood cells are still down, but again, they're decreasing at a smaller rate, like the platelets. So all in all, we're still in the waiting period. He did have a little bit of a decrease in eating yesterday, but they're making the transition to getting him more pills. Yesterday, I'm trying to see if I can find that over here. I went to a class to learn how to care for his PICC line, because when he goes home, I will still have to flush his little tubies with saline every day, administer a couple medications, and hook him up to a nightly saline bag. And I'm going to see if I can find a picture in here of what it looks like here, hanging off his arm. That's an ugly one. They had to have a cuter one. Oh, here, this one. This one's a little better. Now, Flynn has a purple one and a red one, and they're like that, coming out of the upper part of his arm. And every day I'm going to have to break out this mat And I lay my saline and my alcohol wipe and the medicine. They're calling this a medicine grenade and a wipe, and this and a wipe. And she gave me some notes of what to do if certain parts of the pick break or leak or whatever, how to administer the saline, then administer this and this. I'm not gonna lie, I do think it's a lot to ask from parents. I do feel like this is a real medical professional type thing. You know, as teachers, we ask our kids to read, you know, read with your parents, but I'm not asking them to teach them a phonics lesson. But whatever. I mean, I feel comfortable with it. I think obviously as I go along, I'll get better. And so she was saying that they will hook us up with a home care company, and a home care nurse will bring us all the supplies that we need, and she'll train me again, and I should feel comfortable doing all that once a day. It'll probably be in the evening before bed, where I clean one line, I administer some medicine, clean the other line, hook him up to a fluid, and then he'll just go to bed. He'll still need to have fluids, and so we just won't have that big IV pole. She made it sound like this will be going on for months while he's home. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? I just got to figure it out. My husband will figure it out, whatever, it'll be done. So I think that's pretty much the update. I mean, he's still having mild side effects from the chemo. He has started the engraftment processing, or the engraftment part. We're nowhere near, I don't think, going home. I really had the hopes of going home by Christmas, and now I'm just gonna be realistic, and we'll probably be here through the end of December. Okay, so yarn talk now. And then after I'm done talking about yarn, I'm going to insert a cute little clip I took. So they have nurses, and then they have care partners, which I think are CNAs, but they call them care partners. And there's two fellas who, for the longest time, I have gotten confused because they both have curly hair and they wear a mask. But I really, after chatting with one of the nurses, realized that Dylan has kind of a browner curly hair, and Jack has darker brown curly hair coming out. But both of them are pretty sweet, and they talk to Flynn, they talk to him about gaming. I think Dylan is more friendly. But then they make his bed at night, they give me the wipes, we get Flynn ready for bed, and I just have a little clip of them after they made their bed, and then a picture of Flynn sleeping. Flynn slept a lot yesterday. I can't tell if it's just because he was tired or if he didn't want to do his homework. Okay, so this is my knitting talk, and then there'll be those bedtime pictures. Okay, so I made another hat. I made this one a while ago, but I wanted to show you that this was Caron Simply Soft Blue with a Caron Simply Soft pastel rainbowy yarn. I made another one with, I love this yarn, lavender, with that same Caron Simply Soft pastel-y blue. I think that's really cute. I like that's the plan, the natural pooling, and I've been doing it the same way where I start with a base color for the ribbing, and then I rotate between the solid color and the variegated color. And they both kind of came out similar, but obviously the purple and blue. And I have a pink one like this at home. So I have 3 hats like this. So I decided to step up the game in my multi-yarn usage, or 2 colors. This one here, I've been changing row by row. On this hat, I changed stitch by stitch. Do you see that little bit of a pattern there? I did the gray ribbing, and then I used that same, this is Big Twist Gray, and then I love this yarn, lavenderish. I honestly don't know the color name. My sister brought it with her when she came to visit, maybe Thanksgiving, and there was no ball band on it, but she said I love this yarn. So it's some kind of light, maybe when I go home, I'll look it up for y'all. But I did a solid color of purple, and then I did switching off gray, purple, gray, purple, gray, purple. Then I did a row of gray, and then a row of gray, purple, a row of gray, and then I started again. a row of purple, purple, gray, purple, gray, gray, purple, gray, purple, gray, gray. And it kind of gave that little pattern. It pretty well was able to maintain during the decrease. There was one row where I ended up having to join a gray and a purple stitch together. And it was okay because for every row of decrease, for the most part, it ended up in a solid color except for one time. And you can't tell that one stitch. And then once I get to the top, I stop when it's that little and I just do the solid gray. The one thing I will say about these hats is there's less stretch. Now, for all you crocheters, this is what it looks like on the inside. I just held that stitch, you know, and just pulled that yarn. Now, the place here where I switch from, you know, one yarn to the other in the rows is a little blah on the inside. But, I mean, I guess when you're knitting, there's clearly a right side and a wrong side. So you can see that that it does go a little tighter when you start. Do you see the difference? How this one and that one, how the bottom is looser. So I think that at some point, if I do this ribbing of an 80, because remember I follow Ross's hat, I do 80, cast on 80, and then I knit for 4.5 inches, and then I start the decrease. That's how I do it for a second grade hat. Ross has you make it for an adult, and I think you do 6 inches. This one was the same thing, but you can see the ribbing is looser. So I think, and I'm going to try it, not anytime real soon, that I'm going to add 1 stitch per, because eventually he has you add these stitch markers to break it up into sections so you know when to decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. I think I'm going to add, I know I'm getting wild over here. I think I'm going to add 5 stitches when I switch from the ribbing to the first row of only knits. That way it doesn't go in, or either that or I just have to be much looser with my tension. But yeah, so this was my first time ever. I really like that cute little look. And you know what, for a while, you guys, there was this crochet stitch where people were trying to get this look of the knit V. I remember distinctly somebody making a blue hat. I think it was all single crochets with red to get that little, and it was called like something hearts. But anyway, that is the second hat. So since the previous video, I made 2 hats. I am going home today. My husband's gonna get here about 1:30. So I'm bringing my knitting home, and I'm gonna try to hook up with one of my knitting buddies, because if you recall, I messed it up and I'm not quite sure how to fix it. So since messing up that, I'm on my 3rd hat. Now, this yarn is my favorite yarn, one of my favorites, Big Twist Party. Apparently you cannot buy it in the line. You can only buy it in stores. And whenever I go to my Joann's in Oshkosh, they don't have it. But I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try to go again. This is in the colorway Confetti, and I love this. Online, they had a bunch of different colors. I just wanted to show you how beautiful this knits up. Oh, these are just like my colors. Like this purplish, or this pinkish, this kind of aqua-y into this kind of greenish blue. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Now I'm making this hat either for me or for one of the nurses. Yeah, I can't make a hat for all the nurses. And I'm gonna be honest, some of them I don't like. So my 2 favorite day nurses are Marin and, is it Christy? Flynn, is that who was with Martin? And they were actually in the room with us for the transplant. We had them for almost every day up until the transplant, and then the transplant for 6 hours in the room. And they're such sweet girls. We've had Marin a couple times after that, and so I thought about making her, and she was training. You remember me talking about that girl that was training with the other nurse? So I thought about making them hats. When I go home, I'm gonna look for pom-poms, because I think that would make a real cute hat. And if I can't find one at home that I like, I might buy one from Hobby Lobby or Joann's. So I'm going to make her and her training nurse matching hats out of this big twist. This stuff is so soft, but this is my recommendation if you're going to knit with it. I don't know about crochet yet. It is a very loose wrap. And one thing that I've noticed that as I was pulling it, it was getting kind of close to, it's getting a real loose coil over here. And it splits a lot. Now, if I would have bought those lace tips, I don't think I would have had that big of a problem. But as you can see, they're pretty blunt. They're not pointy. And so because of that, when I go into the stitch, I mean, maybe, whew, if you can see that, it's kind of loose. And so a lot of times I split the yarn. But I do think it's beautiful. This is what I was talking about, how I was going to add a stitch. When you start the decrease, Ross has you add a stitch marker he gives you a number, I don't remember off the top of my head, evenly dispersed. And on one row, you just knit. And on that other row, you do a decrease. And so you do it whenever the stitch marker is. I think it was funny is when I was knitting in Maryland at the hospital, the recreational therapist thought that these were decorations. She's like, oh, I've never seen a hat with those on before. I'm like, no, it's just stitch markers. They're not staying. But this one is almost done with the decrease. And then, so I'm going to bring this home and try to find a pom-pom. My plan for going home is to get some Christmas yarn. I do have a bag of yarn and stuffing here. I might bring my stack of hats home. I don't know, I just like seeing that pile of work that I've done. It's like, I feel like, girl, you've worked on a lot of stuff. So I might just leave it here. I don't know. But that is all I have done since I destroyed my Free Your Fade. I have made 2 complete hats and I'm in my 3rd. It's getting to the point where I can start one of these hats, usually the brim, in the evening, and then I wake up the next day and I knit the whole top part, and then I start the hat for the next day. Yeah, so that is it. Now I'm going to close off this video with a cute little clip about our care partner Dylan making Flynn's bed. And a little picture of Flynn being sleepy. Okay, thanks everybody for hanging out this long to watch the yarn part. Thank you everybody for the prayers and good thoughts for Flynn. We are now working on the engraftment process. We're praying that it goes smoothly, it goes fast, Flynn is less nauseous, the chemo stops bugging him. I don't know how long chemo can bug people. But I do believe, if I really think about it, Dr. Brogley said it can be bugging people for up to 3 months. Okay, see you all later. I always think the nursing staff are really sweet when they make his bed. They prop up all his toys and stuffed animals so that he can have everybody there to snuggle with all night. Pretty sweet.